Today, we're diving into a really powerful design principle. It actually comes from a guide for people with low vision, but trust me, it has lessons for every single one of us. It's a simple idea, but with a huge impact. How do you design for the moment everything goes wrong? But before we get into all the theory, let's just start with a feeling. I want you to take a second and really think about this. What does that moment of pure rising panic actually feel like? It feels like this. You're absolutely soaked. You're running late, it's dark, and your hand just cannot seem to find the one key you need. Every single key feels exactly the same. Your brain knows which one is which, but your hands, under all that pressure, they've completely lost the plot. That feeling, that fumbling, frustrating failure, that is what we are designing against today. So, how do you even begin to design against a feeling like that? Well, the answer has a name. It's called tactile trust. This is the core idea we're going to unpack, and it's a beautifully simple solution to a very complex and very human problem. So what is tactile trust? It's basically a system that's built for your hands, not your eyes. Imagine organizing your stuff, keys, tools. You could even do this with digital files in a way that your hand can find what it needs instantly. No looking, no thinking, especially when your mind is racing. It's kind of like building muscle memory for your most important items. And this quote right here, it just nails it. It's not about those pretty color-coded labels that look amazing on a Pinterest board. It's about what works when you can't see, when you can't think clearly, and when you absolutely positively cannot afford to make a mistake. In those moments, function is everything. Let's break this down into two different ways of thinking. See, most of us, we use visual logic. We rely on labels, on colors, on subtle little visual differences. And sure, it looks super organized, but it's the very first thing to fail you in the dark or when you're panicking. But then there's tactile logic. Simple, distinct shapes. Maybe a big square key for the front door and a small, round one for the office. It might not look as fancy, but your hand will never get them mixed up, and that's the whole game. Okay, so the concept makes sense, right? But how do you actually build a system like this? It's not about just randomly organizing things so they feel different. It's about creating what we can call a logic of risk. Let's dig into how that actually works. Here is the number one rule. You don't assign shapes just because they feel nice or look cool. You assign them based on how important they are. You have to start by asking yourself a simple question. What is the worst thing that could possibly happen if I can't find this item right now? And that rule leads directly to this next point. The keys that matter the most, your front door, your car, maybe a medical lockbox, these are your high-risk items. They absolutely cannot be mistaken for anything else. So they need to have the most unique, the most unmistakable feel. The key to your garden shed, well, that can feel similar to other less important keys. The risk of mixing them up is pretty low. The whole process really just breaks down into three simple steps. First, you identify your non-negotiables. What are the things you absolutely have to get to in an emergency? Step two, you assign those things a totally unique tactile identity. A different shape, a rubber cover, maybe file a little notch in it, something your hand can learn and never forget. And then finally, you create the rest of your system around those core high-risk items. You're building a hierarchy that your body can memorize. All right, so you've built your system. It's all set up. But is it actually trustworthy? How do you really know if it's going to hold up when you need it the most? Well, there's one final crucial test it has to pass. This right here is the benchmark. This is the gold standard. See, it's not enough for your system to work when you're calm and the lights are on. It has to work when you are at your absolute worst. It has to survive the very conditions it was designed to overcome in the first place. So I want you to ask yourself these questions about your own system. Can you find your front door key in less than 3 seconds with your eyes closed? How about with thick winter gloves on? Can you do it while someone is shouting questions at you, creating a distraction? That is the fumble test. And if your system passes that, then you've achieved true tactile trust. So far, we've been focused on keys, and for good reason. It's a perfect example. But this incredible idea of tactile trust, it goes so much further than your keychain. It's actually a universal design principle that you can apply almost anywhere. Let me be really clear. This was never just about keys. The keychain is just the perfect, tangible metaphor for this whole idea. Really, this is about designing any system, whether it's physical or digital, to be resilient, intuitive, and trustworthy, especially when the pressure's on. Just think about it for a second. How are your critical digital files organized on your computer? Is that emergency contacts document buried 5 folders deep? Or is it instantly accessible?
In a workshop, are your most used tools always in the same exact easy-to-grab spot? Pilots live and breathe this stuff. The shape and the location of every single switch in a cockpit is designed for tactile trust, so they don't have to look down during a crisis. So as we wrap this up, I want you to take a look at the systems you rely on every single day. Your digital life, your workspace, your plans for an emergency. Where is there ambiguity? Where is the potential to fumble when things get stressful? I'm going to leave you with this one question. What system in your life right now needs more tactile trust?